Welcome, everyone, to today's deep dive. I'm really glad you're joining us for this one.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We have some pretty wild material to get through today.
We really do. So, our mission today for you, the listener, is to extract the absolute most actionable, timeless insights from The Diary of a CEO, The 33 Laws of Business and Life by Steven Bartlett.
Right, and just to set the stage a bit, for those who might not know, Steven Bartlett is this 30-year-old serial entrepreneur.
Which is incredibly young for what he's done.
Oh, totally. His companies have reached a cumulative valuation of over $1 billion. He sits on corporate boards, he invests heavily, and he hosts Europe's top podcast.
Yeah, he's basically been running this massive R&D department for human behavior just by interviewing the world's most successful minds.
Exactly, thousands of hours of data collection, essentially.
So what does this all mean? Well, it means we are skipping the fleeting, trendy business strategies today.
The stuff that changes every 6 months.
Right, exactly. Whatever the algorithm favors this week. Instead, we're exploring the underlying physics of human potential. These are 33 fundamental laws rooted in psychology and centuries of research, and we're going to curate this journey through Bartlett's 4 main pillars: the self, the philosophy, the story, and the team.
And what makes this material so compelling is that it applies universally. Whether you were running a Fortune 500 company or you're just trying to optimize your own personal life.
Gravity works the same everywhere.
Exactly. The forces at play here operate with the same mathematical certainty, no matter the scale of your ambition.
Okay, so let's start with the first pillar, the self. Because, well, you can't build an empire or even just a successful career on a cracked foundation.
You really can't. It all starts with the individual.
Right. And to illustrate this, picture a man jogging down the street. He's in these tired, worn-out gym clothes. He's sweating, panting, looks a little confused.
Not exactly a picture of success.
No, not at all. And he stops, struggles to catch his breath, cracks this weird joke, laughs frantically at it, and then casually mentions that he's currently building a spaceship, putting microchips into monkey brains, and creating an army of AI robots.
Sounds completely unhinged.
Right. You would immediately call a psychiatrist. But if I tell you that man is Elon Musk...
The context shifts violently.
Exactly. You wouldn't call a doctor. You'd ask where you can invest your life savings. And this is Bartlett's point. We tend to look at massive success and only focus on the penthouse, ignoring the underground foundation. Bartlett breaks this foundation down into the 5 buckets of human potential.
Which are knowledge, skills, network, resources, and reputation.
Yes. And Musk has those buckets filled to the absolute brim, which is why people will blindly follow his wildest ambitions.
What's fascinating here is that the critical takeaway isn't just that these 5 buckets exist, it's the absolute non-negotiable sequence in which they have to be filled.
They go in order.
Right, from left to right.
Yeah.
You have to start by acquiring raw knowledge. When you apply that knowledge in the real world, usually by making mistakes, it solidifies into a skill.
Makes sense.
And once you have a rare skill, a network naturally begins to form around you. That network grants you access to resources. And finally, over time, all of that crystallizes into your reputation.
It's like leveling up a character in a video game.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because if you don't level up your base stats, like your knowledge and your skills, all the legendary loot or resources you find, they won't save you when the actual boss fight starts.
And in the professional world, that boss fight is what Bartlett calls the professional earthquake.
An earthquake, meaning like a massive disruption.
Exactly. You get fired, your industry gets disrupted by AI, a global pandemic hits, the ground just falls out from under you.
Right, the stuff you can't predict. But wait, I have to push back on this sequence for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Isn't networking the ultimate shortcut today? I mean, we constantly hear, it's not what you know, it's who you know. People spend all their time hacking their way into the right rooms.
They do, but Bartlett argues that's building a house of cards. A professional earthquake can violently wipe out your network. People scatter when the money dries up.
Oh, for sure.
It can empty your resource bucket and tarnish your reputation. But, and this is the key, an earthquake can never empty your knowledge, and it can never unlearn your skills.
Ah, so they are intrinsic.
Right. Knowledge applied becomes a skill, which inevitably acts as a magnet to attract a brand new network, even if you lose everything else.
Wow, that completely reframes how you look at a job that pays well but doesn't teach you anything. You're basically incredibly vulnerable.
Extremely vulnerable. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we have our foundation. Our base stats are leveled up. We move from building the self to the second pillar, the philosophy, basically the internal operating system of execution.
How you actually operate in the world.
Exactly. And looking at Bartlett's laws here, there's a really interesting tension. On one hand, you have Law 19, which is sweat the small stuff.
The Kaizen approach.
Right. And he shares this wild detail that he beat Joe Rogan and YouTube subscribers in early 2023 purely by obsessing over 1% improvements. Tiny tweaks to lighting, thumbnails, audio.
The micro gains that compound over time.
Yeah, but then he immediately pivots to Law 21. You must outfail the competition. And he brings up the hair group, right?
And the massive Chinese appliance company.
Yeah. To avoid bureaucracy, they literally split 75,000 employees into 4,000 autonomous micro-organizations just so they could fail faster.
It sounds like absolute chaos.
Okay, let's unpack this. Isn't there a massive contradiction here? How can you obsess over every tiny 1% detail, but simultaneously speed up your failure rate with thousands of micro teams? Doesn't the chaos destroy the perfectionism?
It seems like it would, but failure is terribly misunderstood. We view it as an endpoint, but failure is just a mechanism for feedback.
Just gathering data.
Precisely. You fail fast to localize the blast radius of a mistake and to gather the data required to actually find those 1% micro improvements.
So you're not just guessing what to perfect.
Exactly. Bartlett has this formula. Failure equals feedback. Feedback equals knowledge. And knowledge equals power. You fail fast to find the right strategy, and then you sweat the small stuff to optimize it.
So failure is the engine that drives the perfectionism.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving to the third pillar, the story. Because you can have the best skills and this amazing agile philosophy, but if you can't communicate your value to the human standing in your way.
You lose. Plain and simple.
Right, and humans are fundamentally illogical. Bartlett talks about Law 15. The frame matters more than the picture.
The B2B example here is incredible.
Oh, it's wild. This company was struggling to get sales calls answered. They didn't change their product or price. They literally just changed the department title from sales to partnerships.
And sales went up by 31%, just from a word change. Exactly. Or look at Tesla. They use plastic seats, but they call it vegan leather. It's like looking at a fast food burger, right?
Okay, let's see.
Serve it in a greasy cardboard box, and your brain says it's cheap fuel. Put that exact same burger on a silver platter under dramatic spotlight, and suddenly it's gourmet art. The burger didn't change at all.
The frame dictated the value. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it ties directly into Law 18, the fight for the first 5 seconds.
To bypass the brain's filter.
Exactly, the habituation filter. Our brains are energy hungry, so they literally mute predictable stimuli to conserve calories. Generic corporate jargon gets filtered out immediately.
That's why sales gets ignored, but partnerships gets through.
Right. And this brings us to Law 12, which is probably one of the most counterintuitive laws in the book. You must piss people off.
Yeah, that one caught me off guard.
Bartlett noticed in a bookstore that the best-selling self-help books weren't serene landscapes anymore. They were covered in aggressive curse words.
Like Mark Manson's book. But wait, surely alienating people is bad for a business or your personal reputation, right? Why would you intentionally provoke a negative reaction?
Because indifference is the absolute least profitable outcome in any human endeavor.
Oh, wow. Indifference is worse than hate.
Way worse. Hate is a powerful signal. It means you've successfully bypassed the filter and made someone feel something. You've taken a stance.
You disrupted their worldview.
Exactly. And the psychological law of polarity dictates that the people who do agree with you will love you with a passion equal to the hate. If you try to please everyone, you just become wallpaper.
Wow, don't be wallpaper. That is such a strong visual. Okay, so we have the foundation, the philosophy, and the story. Now we need to scale, which brings us to the final pillar, the team.
You can't execute a massive vision completely alone.
Right. And he shares this hilarious anecdote about Richard Branson. Branson is running a global empire, and he essentially uses a coloring book and a drawing of a fishing net to understand gross turnover versus profit.
He literally draws fish in a net for profit, and the ocean is the turnover.
Which is insane for a billionaire. But it perfectly proves Law 28. Great leaders don't ask, how do I do this?
They ask, who can do this for me?
Yes, who, not how.
And that leads into how you select that who. Bartlett outlines the 3 bars for hiring in Law 30. Every person is either a bar raiser, a bar maintainer, or a bar lowerer.
And you only keep the raisers and maintainers.
Right. Barbara Corcoran gave him ruthless advice on this. She said to fire negative people immediately. She calls them thieves in the night.
Because they steal the team's energy.
Exactly. They subtly adjust the baseline of acceptable behavior downward. And to counter that, Bartlett argues in Law 29 that a startup needs to operate like a cult.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because cult is a terrifying word.
It definitely carries a lot of baggage.
Yeah. I mean, Jim Jones and the People's Temple are mentioned right there in the text. How does a leader build a cult-like commitment without crossing into a toxic, dangerous, exploitative environment?
This raises an important question about the life cycle of a company. Bartlett clarifies that the cult phase is strictly a survival mechanism for the 0 to 1 startup phase.
When the odds of survival are basically zero.
Right. Rational, well-adjusted people working a 9 to 5 do not accomplish the impossible. You need a borderline delusional shared belief to survive those early days.
So it's a temporary immune response.
Exactly. But it's not sustainable long-term. In the beginning, though, the most important decision is picking your first 10 people, because each of those first 10 represents 10% of the company's culture.
Oh, that makes sense.
If the culture is strong, the 11th person who joins becomes the culture. If it's weak, the culture becomes whatever the new people bring in.
The culture becomes the new people. That is a stark warning.
Very much so.
So summarizing this whole journey for you guys today, you have to build your indestructible base, right? The self. Then embrace messy, fast failures to find your micro wins, which is the philosophy.
Frame your message to conquer indifference.
The story. And finally, ask who, not how, and recruit absolute A players to carry the load, which is the team.
It's a comprehensive architecture for success.
Yeah.
But, there is one final, really powerful piece of mortar holding all these pairs together.
What's that?
Bartlett calls it the discipline equation in Law 27. He recounts Steve Jobs speaking to college graduates at Stanford.
Oh, that famous commencement speech.
Yeah. And Jobs didn't talk about time management hacks or productivity apps. He talked to them about their own mortality, about death.
Heavy stuff for graduation.
Very. But it makes the point that success isn't magic. It's the application of discipline over time. And true discipline comes from realizing that your time is finite.
We're all hurtling toward an expiration date.
We are. And so the ultimate provocation to mull over today is this. If you recognize that your time is running out, are you truly being selective with who and what you spend your time on?
Wow.
Because being fiercely selective with your finite time is the greatest sign of self-respect.
That is an incredibly powerful thought to leave off on. Self-respect through protecting your time. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on this deep dive into Steven Bartlett's laws.
It's been a great conversation.
It really has. We'll catch you guys in the next one.